Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Natalia Moczulska, and this is the news. Day 239 of the war in Ukraine. Ukrainian forces successfully encircle Russians in the Kherson region. The Russians are considering the withdrawal of their troops from the territories west of Dnieper, including from Kherson itself. The retreat will be difficult as all the permanent bridges around the city are damaged. Over the past 24 hours, Russian forces have conducted 28 airstrikes and more than 65 attacks from ground-based artillery systems. The Russians shelled 25 localities, including military targets and energy infrastructure in Ukraine. Meanwhile, in Kiev, authorities have ordered power cuts. Today, 3 energy infrastructure facilities were destroyed by the enemy. Of course, we will do everything possible to make our country's energy system fully operational. It will take time and our joint efforts. In addition, over the past 24 hours, Ukrainian forces destroyed 6 Russian military warehouses. They stored weapons and ammunition of various types, as well as military equipment. 4 anti-aircraft missile systems were also destroyed, as well as more than a dozen combat drones, threatening civilian and industrial infrastructure. No square meter of Ukraine is safe. Lviv was shelled, and a power plant in its vicinity was damaged. Russian forces are preparing an attack on a hydroelectric power plant at Kakhovka. Breaking the dam will justify their retreat from the right bank of Dnieper and delay Ukrainian operations on the other bank of the river. Meanwhile, the occupation authorities in Kharkiv have evacuated citizens, with more than 50,000 people removed from the city. If the dam is damaged, part of the city will be flooded. Russian authorities are building shelters for civilians. We were inspired by the Israeli bomb shelters. These areas, which are close to the Gaza Strip, are often shelled from Palestinian territory. In our opinion, this is effective protection for Kharkiv citizens as well. According to the American Institute for War Studies, the Russian invasion of Ukraine is fraught with a variety of problems. Army manpower shortages have been filled for months by prisoners, Russian garrisons lack basic supplies, and soldiers show no willingness to fight.
I think that Vladimir Putin finds himself in an incredibly difficult position. And what it reflects to me is, it seems his only tool available to him is to brutalize individual citizens in Ukraine, Ukrainian citizens, to try to intimidate them into capitulating.
A summit of union leaders began today in Brussels. The basis for discussion will be a package prepared by the European Commission. In it, there is a proposal for joint gas purchases and mandatory solidarity on sharing the resource in crisis situations.
It's a good basis, building on the tools we had in the past in order to take additional steps and to clarify what we want for the future. The European Council tomorrow will be difficult. It will be complex because there are different sensitivities, different opinions. We do not have all the same starting points, but I see 2 important elements. First question, are we ready to work together in order to implement measures to lower the prices of gas?
Since August, Russia has been buying kamikaze drones from Iran, which it has been using to attack civilian targets and important infrastructure facilities in Ukraine. 8 individuals and legal entities are to be subject to EU sanctions for supplying Iranian drones to Russia, Reuters reports. According to unofficial information, the list includes a drone manufacturing company and the chief of staff of the Iranian army. The leaders of the 27 European Union countries arrived in Brussels today for a European Union summit aimed at discussing bringing down energy prices. Persistent divisions among them mean the European Union is unlikely for now to put a ceiling on what it pays for gas.
We have tools, we have measures. It is possible to act in order to lower prices, in order to reduce the consumption, and also in order to guarantee as much as possible the security of supply. The proposals are on the table. The conclusions are, I think, a good balance in order to reach an agreement today. It will be probably difficult, but this is very important today or tomorrow to send a very strong signal that we are determined to act together in order to have a positive impact. This is fundamental for our households, for our families, and for the businesses across the EU.
Latvian Prime Minister Karins said he hoped EU member states would come around and agree on joint gas procurement and price caps on import.
In times of crisis, there's always a challenge. challenge, and often in the beginning, not everyone is on the same page. From my side, I will do everything to convince and to argue why it's in everyone's self-interest actually to work together. Because also on the potential joint procurement of gas, while one can participate, one could not participate, but that would have a downward pressure on prices. It would be a very good thing. Similar that if a price cap on imported gas could be managed, and there are many questions how it could be managed, that would have a downward pressure on prices, and that's what we all need.
Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki said Poland will strongly call for the price caps on gas. Poland, one more time, will strongly call for the price caps on gas, or the price corridor for gas. Practically speaking, the final effect of these two solutions will be similar, and based on my talks with presidents and prime ministers, more and more countries support such solutions, so I count on the European Commission to quickly act on the implementation of such solutions. One more time, we will be also calling on the use of the instrument that the European Commission already has, and it may be a relief for the whole of Europe, a relief for all Polish citizens, which is freezing ETS or emission trading system price on 20 to 30 euro level. It is a secondary thing, but let's just use this tool, this weapon that we have in our arsenal. British Prime Minister Liz Truss has resigned. She resigned after 45 days, becoming the shortest-serving British Prime Minister in history. Liz Truss will remain in office until a successor is chosen, which is expected by the end of next week. Liz Truss, who had said on Wednesday she was a fighter, not a quitter, spoke to the mass of journalists gathered outside of her Downing Street office and residence that she realized she could no longer deliver on the promises that won her the Conservative leadership.
I came into office at a time of great economic and international instability. Families and businesses were worried about how to pay their bills. Putin's illegal war in Ukraine threatens the security of our whole continent. And our country has been held back for too long by low economic growth. I was elected by the Conservative Party with a mandate to change this. We delivered on energy bills and on cutting national insurance. And we set out a vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy that would take advantage of the freedoms of Brexit. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party. This morning I met the chairman of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady. We've agreed that there will be a leadership election to be completed within the next week. This will ensure that we remain on a path to deliver our fiscal plans and maintain our country's economic stability and national security. I will remain as Prime Minister until a successor has been chosen. Thank you.
A leadership election will be completed within the next week to replace Truss, who is the shortest-serving prime minister in Britain's history. George Canning previously held the record, serving 119 days in 1827 when he died. And finally, yesterday, U.S. President Joe Biden announced a plan to sell off 15 million barrels of crude oil from the nation's emergency supply and begin refilling the reserve as he tries to dampen high gasoline prices ahead of midterm elections on the 8th of November.
Today, I'm announcing 3 critical steps that my administration will take to reduce gas prices at the pump. First, the Department of Energy will release another 15 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, extending our previously announced release through the month of December. Independent analysts have confirmed that drawdowns from the reserve so far have played a big role in bringing down oil prices, bringing them down. So we're going to continue to responsibly use that national asset. Right now, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is more than half full, with about 400 million barrels of oil. That's more than enough for any emergency drawdown. With my announcement today, we're going to continue to stabilize markets and decrease the prices at a time when the actions of other countries have caused such volatility.
The move came 2 weeks after the Saudi Arabia-led Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries rankled Biden by siding with Russia and agreeing to a production cut, raising fears of a new spike in U.S. pump prices. Biden's efforts to use federal powers to balance the U.S. oil market underscores just how much the war in Ukraine, rampant inflation, and the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries production cut have upended the plans of a president who came into office vowing to undo the oil industry and move the country swiftly to a fossil fuel-free future. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please stay tuned for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business, and some of our other programs. But for me, it's have a wonderful evening.